Hey digital creators, this is Dana with Dana Digital Tutorials, helping you master the tech to simplify your creative journey. Today we're going to revisit creating seamless wraps in Photoshop. This can be done in other programs such as Photopea, but I do find that they have a much harder time when generating the seamless portion that we're going to be generating today. For example, Photopea likes to add extra objects like paintbrushes, and it takes a lot of time to get those out. If you have success, please feel free to put a link or a comment below and let us know what program you use and how you're able to get it to generate the seamless wrap. So I have an image here of butterflies. I did create this using Dream AI in my designs. And I will be having a video here soon on all the ins and outs on creating it in my designs and using their different models that they include. But we want to do a couple of things to set up before we create our seamless wrap. The first thing you want to do is you want to make sure you have your layers panel showing. If you don't see it, go to Window and just check Layers and it should pop right up. The next thing we want to do is we want to check our image size. I am on a Mac, so anytime I say Command, if you're on a PC, just replace it with a Control. So I'm going to do Command Option I, and I can see that my image size is 1024. I do want to make sure that it is 2000 pixels or less. Used to say that it needed to be 1024 or less, but Photoshop has updated and now they will do generative fills up to 2000 pixels either in width or height and maintain the current detail amount that's in the image it's generating with. So 1024 works. Now the next thing we want to do is we want to unlock our canvas. And we'll do that by clicking the little lock feature. If you don't see a lock here, that just means that when you either opened it last or downloaded it, that it didn't lock this layer. I know, for example, Kittle, when you download, does not lock that layer. Just make sure yours is not locked. If it's locked and we increase our canvas size, it will add color, usually from your foreground or your background, and we don't want that. We want transparent because it would create an extra step. The next thing we're going to do is create the right ratio. If your image is 1024 and high and you're trying to create a 20-ounce tumbler wrap that is seamless, then the width is going to be 1162. So I'm going to do Command Option C to get to my canvas size, and I'm just going to change this to 1162. Now I know when I upscale this image, it is going to be the proper ratio. The next thing we want to do is we want to swap the size. You have two main different ways to swap the sides. The first one would be to cut this image in half and take the right half and move it all the way to the left, and then take the left half and move it all the way to the right. So we would come down here. I'm just going to zoom out a little bit. Oop, not that much. And I'm going to use my marquee tool. But before I do, a little trick to make it easier is make sure your ruler is on. If you don't see it, Command or Control R will show and hide your ruler. We want it up. And just click in the ruler area and drag. And if you watch, it's going to snap. You see that little snap? I didn't do that. It does that. If yours is not snapping, you just need to go to View and make sure that you have Snap checked, and then make sure that you have All checked, which I already do, so I can't select it. Now when we're using our marquee feature, M is the shortcut key, but it's up here in the left if you would prefer to click. Then we're going to take and we're going to select this area, and you see how it snaps right to my guide. I find that super easy to do. And I'm going to do Command or Control X and then Command or Control V. You can also come up here to edit and cut and copy if you would like to do it the long way. Now I'm going to hit the V button, which just puts me on the little handle, the move tool, and I'm going to drag it all the way to the left. And because I have those all the snap options on, you see those handy little red or magenta lines. They're letting me know I didn't go above or below, and they're also letting me know that I have gone all the way to the right. Now that we've done that portion, we're going to flatten this. We don't have to flatten it. It is just easier if we do. So I'm just going to hold down my Shift key, select this first layer, and then Command or Control E. And now you can see we're on one layer. Now we're going to go back to our Marquee tool. Remember M for the shortcut. And we're just going to select this area. And you'll notice I kind of overlap a little bit on my selection. And the reason I do that is because if there's any like hazy line or a little bit of a blurry edge, this will take care of that. The next thing we want to do is we want to go to Edit, Generative Fill, which is right here. If you use your contextual bar, it will show up in that, and let me show you what that looks like. I always turn it off because I feel like it's never in a good place. It drives me crazy, so I just have it off. But if you have your contextual bar up, you can just hit Generative Fill here, don't type anything, and then hit Generate. And this is going to go ahead and create that seamless wrap, and it's going to give us 3 choices over here. And if you don't see those 3 choices, I'll move my head so you can see. It's in the Properties panel, and you'll just want to come over and go to Window and make sure you have Properties checked. I'm going to move my head back over, and now we're going to look at the 3 options. I'm going to hide the guide temporarily. I don't want to delete it. So Command or Control and then the colon or semicolon should hide it for us if I'm actually in Photoshop when I do that. All right, now it's hidden. I can see this has done a great job. I do like this one, but just to show you that you can look at different options and see which one you like best. I actually like this one with the butterfly right in the middle. So now that we have our seamless wrap done, we're going to go ahead and flatten again. Because we're on the top layer and we only have one generative fill, we can just do Command or Control E, or you can select both and then do Command or Control E. You cannot flatten one generative layer into another without selecting both layers. So let me show you what I mean. So let's say I had created a second generative layer to fix an area that was off, like this one here. I'm going to undo that. So I don't really like this area, so I'm going to go ahead and generative fill that. And yes, you can generative fill one on top of another as many times as you want. Just know that the more layers you get, the more bogged down your computer can be if you don't have a robust computer. So I'm going to hit Generate because I feel like that's just part of a butterfly and I don't want that in my design. And I'm okay if it gives me nothing or the glittery background, and I'm okay if it gives me a butterfly. I just don't want a partial butterfly. And that one looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and check the other options, and I think maybe that one is the best one. So if I were to go Command or Control E here, it's not going to do anything because I have 2 smart objects, one on top of another. But if I were just on this top smart object and I have a normal layer below and I do Command or Control E, you can see it will flatten. So I just wanted to show you that little tip. The other thing you can do is select the top layer and hold the Shift, select the bottom layer, and then Command or Control E. That will flatten everything for you. Now we're going to hold down Command and the colon or semicolon so we can see our guide again. And we're just going to put it back. So I'm going to select it all, Command or Control X, Command or Control V. Now if I move this layer over, it's going to completely hide this layer. So I find it's easier to select the bottom one and drag that over, make sure I have all my pink or magenta lines, and then drag this one over. Go ahead and hide that guide because I don't need it anymore, and then flatten this. And it is now ready to upscale. You can upscale using Photoshop neural filters. So we're going to go to Filter, and then right here under Neural Filters. If you've never used these before, you'll have a little download feature like this, so you'll have to create that. And let me move this out of your way. And now that I have this selected, I'm going to upscale. One time is going to put me to 2384, I think, or 64, somewhere in there. So that's not quite enough. So I'm probably just going to go ahead and do 3. And I'm going to wait for it to finish. And I will tell you that if you upscale your canvas before you do this generative fill, it may take longer to do the neural filter. It may take longer for your neural filter. So do the upscale first and then do the generative fill, or the neural filter, or the canvas size. I'm blurring my mind. Let me repeat all of that. Go ahead and do your neural filter super zoom, then increase your canvas to match. A quick way to do that is if you hold down your command or your control and you click on this new enlarged, you can't see it, but it is actually selecting that entire image. And then you can just hit C and it will take you into the crop feature, and then you can hit enter. Let's go ahead and zoom out. And you can see it's already perfectly selected my entire image. So I'm going to hit enter, and now we're going to look at our image size. So let's go ahead and look at our image size, and I can see obviously it's too big because 2 wasn't enough and 3 was too much. So now we're just going to size it down to 2790. Now you'll notice here that my height is 2459, and a tumbler wrap for a 20 ounce is actually 2460. So what can I do about that? Well, 1 pixel isn't that big of a deal. So you can just unlock your ratio here and you can change that to 2460. Nobody's going to know. Now, if this was 2100, I wouldn't want to make it 2460 because it's going to be very warped. I'm going to hit OK. And next time, remember, it's going to stay unlocked on that ratio, so you'll have to click it back on. And now my image is ready to go. The only thing we have left to do is go ahead and make it 300 dpi. And let me show you how to do that. We're going to go to Image, Image Size, or you can use your shortcuts. We're going to uncheck the resample box, and then we are going to make this 300 dpi. And you can see we have it perfectly sized at 9.3 by 8.2. But let me show you a different way to do this. I'm going to go ahead and go all the way back to the beginning. And the easiest way to do that is to go into your History panel, and if you don't see that, you can go to Window and History. Anytime you don't see one of these panels, it'll just be under the window. I'm going to click this image up here, which is the very beginning, and we're going to start all the way over. We already know that our image is the right size, which is 1024 in height. So we can just skip to unlocking this layer here. And we're going to go to Command Option C for our canvas size, and we're going to make this 1162. Now half of 1162 is going to be 581. So let's go ahead and hit enter, and we're going to remember that number. Go ahead and go up to Filter, Other, Offset, and type that half number, which is 581, and you can see that our image has that seamless area right in the center. Very easy, a lot easier than cutting an image in half and having to swap the sides. You do know that you'll have to find the exact half in the pixels for the width of your image. It does not give you options to select percentages or move it over halfway, so you do have to know the half number there. So I'm going to hit enter, and now we can proceed just like we did before. So I'm going to select this area plus a little bit extra, and I'm going to go to edit, generative fill. And then I'm going to hit generate. I thought I'd already hit that. So it's really going to be the same process. The only thing we did was save a little bit of time by using offset instead of cutting our image in half and flopping it and having to do that all over again. I can see that I have a different generative fill, and there it gives me some butterflies. I do like those in the center. And now we're going to do Command or Control E to flatten that. And in our filters, it remembers the last offset we did, so we can just click offset and it's going to automatically put it back. So this does make things a lot faster, but again, you will have to figure out what your half is for whatever size that you're creating. And we would use the neuro filters the same way we did before. But if you check your seamless wrap after you've done it, I'm going to show you here. Let's go ahead and use our neuro filters. It remembers that as well. So we can go ahead and just click it. So we don't have to go in there. But sometimes when you have a dark image like this, upscaling after creating the seamless wrap will give you a little bit of a fuzzy line. And I'm going to show you how to fix that. So I'm holding down my Command or Control and clicking the layer, pressing C to get into my crop, hitting enter and hitting enter. So now my image is upscaled. I do want to bring it back down to that 2790. And I don't have this locked, so it just kept the height. But since I know I'm going to make it 2460, I'll just type that in. So let's go ahead and check our seamless wrap. So we're going to go to filter, but if I click offset, you'll see it's not going to put it in the middle. So let's undo that, and let's go ahead and go down and find offset, and the new half is 1395. Now you're going to see sometimes you get this little line here. And you'll see I don't have it here, but I have it up here. A quick way to fix that is if you go to your marquee and you just barely select, because we just need to get rid of that, and we do have an image there. We just want to get rid of this line. We're going to go to edit, content aware, fill, which would not do a good job creating seamless, but it does do a good job at getting rid of this hazy line. And then we're just going to hit OK. We're going to hit Command or Control D to unselect, and now we're going to flatten that. And then it's gone, just like that. That is a quick way to get rid of that little white line if you don't like it and you want it to be gone. Lighter images won't typically do that. I only have that issue when I'm in a darker image. And it probably still does technically do that on a lighter image. It's just not noticeable. So we'll go to Filter Offset. Now we can flatten our image all the way because this is the unupscaled version here. So I'm going to do Command E, and we have a single layer. So this is now where you would go to File, you would do Save or Save as a Copy, or Export and save your image accordingly. If you would like a video on saving methods, I'll put a link down below and you can see my video on saving. So let's go look at this puppy and let's talk about the seamless wrap in this image and the issues it's going to give me. If you'll notice, I have kind of this watercolor edge on the bottom and the top. If I do the generative fill in this with the seamless, it's going to recognize the downward trend and the upward trend, and it's going to continue that on our seamless. And let me show you what I mean. So I'm going to unlock that. I'm going to change my canvas to 1162 because I have a 1024 in height. I'm going to go to Filter, Other, Offset, but we need to be 581. And now if I fill this in just the way it is, I'm probably not going to like the back part. So edit, generative fill, and if you want to know how to create a shortcut like this to make it easier, let me know in the comments and I can create a video on creating custom shortcuts in Photoshop, which I use that all the time because I don't keep the contextual bar up. We're going to let that go ahead and fill in, and I can see actually it's done pretty good here. I just don't like the dip, and the more your angle is, the worse that's going to be. So how do you fix that? I'm going to delete that, and what I personally would do is, ooh, sorry about that, let me bring that back up here, and I'm going to hide my contextual bar because I don't like where it's at. I can't see anything. I'm probably going to select an area before it really starts to go down, and I'm just going to go ahead and select that. I am sliding that all over the place today. And then I'm going to hold down my Option key and unselect the puppy because that area isn't a problem and I don't really want it to regenerate that area. So we'll go to Edit, Generative Fill, and now we shouldn't see that dip when we create this generative fill because we kind of picked before the total drop. Even though there is a little bit of a drop here, there is here too, and it's going to pick up on that. And now you can see that we don't have that dip on the top, but we do on the bottom. So let's go ahead and select another one and another one. And now I can see that I don't have the dip. If you really want the white edge up here, you could just generate a couple of more times or maybe select a little less than what I did before. But this is a little tip on when it kind of angles down on how to prevent it from angling down on your generative fill. So we're going to go and skip to this one here, which is a adorable little hunting one. If I do the generative fill here, it's going to go ahead and generative fill this area, which you may or may not want. So let's go ahead and do that. Unlock my layer, do canvas size 1162. Remember, my last offset was the right one, so I can just pick that one right up in here. And we're going to go ahead and select this area, and we're going to do our generative fill. And then I'm going to show you how to get it to continue with that band all the way around. And as you're probably guessing, it's about the same as the last image, but we'll let it generative fill and see what it does. And sometimes not only it'll do that, or it'll give you something like this. That usually you can just generate again and you'll get it correct. But I'm going to back up, and what I'm going to do, and this is a little trick that I have, let me zoom out just a little bit so I can select it. I'm going to select that black line, or a little bit further than that black line. I'm just going to hit the delete key. Now I'm going to generative fill. I'm trying to use my shortcuts. It just is habit. And I'm going to go ahead and generative fill now. And by doing it this way, I'm able to get those trees to go ahead and wrap all the way around the cup. Both looks are great, but this will just teach you how to do this. Now, it does go ahead and create text down here. That's pretty easy to fix usually. Let's see, I like this one better. And I'm just going to do a new selection using the marquee tool. And I'm going to go to generative fill, and we should be able to clear up that text. Sometimes you have to do it in small sections if it's really close to the other text, but it does work in getting rid of the text that it liked to create. And as you can see, it's done pretty good there. And maybe I'll pick a different one, and no, this is the best one. But because I have more than 2 generative fill layers, I'm going to use my shift, select all 3, Command E, and then filter offset. And so this image is ready for upscale. Now I have one more to show you, and that is this vodka one. And the reason I'm showing you this one is because we're going to look at the canvas size. And I'm going to go Command Option I, and you can see that we do have the 1024 in height, but we need 1162 or less in the width. So if I were to go ahead and do filter offset, it's going to A, not put it in the center, and B, we have too much. So I'm going to undo that. If I crop with my layer unlocked here, let's go ahead and crop. And I go ahead and I can change my ratio here so that I have it easy. 1162 by 1024. If you have delete cropped pixels unchecked, even though your canvas is cropped, it's not going to get rid of the image and you're going to have the same issue as before. So make sure you have delete cropped pixels or do the crop before you unlock your layer. So we're going to go ahead and hit OK here. And now when we go to filter offset, we're going to see it go in the middle. The other thing with Photoshop, and let me zoom this out just a little bit for you, is that if I just select this area, right, I am getting happy with that scroll today. And I generative fill here, depending on Photoshop's mood, it may leave a line there and it may not. So I find it's easier to, again, delete and then go ahead and do my generative fill. But you also have to use a little bit of thought here, and I'm looking and I'm seeing that this is going to struggle. It's not enough room for it to make that transition. It probably is okay up here, so I'm going to select a little bit of an extra area. I'm going to hold down my shift key and I'm just going to select an additional area in here and an additional area in here. Wherever I think it might struggle lining up, I just want to give it a little bit more room to do something. If I don't want it to mess with this area, I would unselect it. Or let's say down here, if I had to come in and select down here, I might want to tell it not to do that strawberry as much. And then I'm going to do my generative fill. So edit, generative fill, and generate. And at first you may not recognize when you need that extra space, but as you do these and you see it mess up and mess up and mess up, you're going to start picking up on when you need extra space, because it won't fill areas that you don't have selected. And you'll see it mess up, like I said, and you'll be able to know when you need to select extra areas. So we're going to go ahead and look at these different options, and I think I like that one. So we'll hit Command E and we'll do filter offset. And now this image is ready to go. And while you're creating your seamless wraps, feel free when you have it in this setup here or when you have it in this setup to fix any other areas. I find if it's closer to the edge, it's easier to go ahead and fix while I'm here. So like if I wanted to fix these areas or if I wanted to get rid of this, go ahead and do it while it's in this format, because you know that it's going to do a better job than if you've got it swapped back this way, because this would be hard to kind of do over here and over here and it's not going to match. But this is Dana with Dana Digital Tutorials, helping you with your creative journey using all things tech. Have a great day.